Hello and welcome to this review of all my works which I made in books of Lizzie Cullen. I own all but one of her coloring books and she is one of my favorite artists. Magical City was one of my first coloring books. I learned about it from Peter Hewitt's channel and I was fortunate that it was available in a Russian edition, so I easily purchased it even before I discovered Book Depository and other foreign stores. I learned how to color with Inktense pencils thanks to Peter Hewitt videos, so a lot of pictures here resembles Peter's work, and mostly I colored in it with Inktense, and I did only a couple of pictures with other mediums. I really colored a lot on this book, especially in the beginning of my hobby, and even my first coloring tutorial on this channel was from this book. Recently I color less in it, maybe because the most interesting pictures I have already finished, and I have here quite a difficult one left, but I hope that one day I finish it. My first coloring video was about these two pages. I think that I love to color in Lizzie Mary's books, first because I can color with really bright colors and for once not to think about natural looking colors or about lights and so on. And second reason, it's because I love to color cities and famous places. For the places which I have visited, I can review my sweet memories about these places, and for cities and countries which I haven't visited yet, I can learn something new to read about this place, so it's a double pleasure for me. If you haven't seen, this Cathedral in Paris is my recent work in this book, and for the background I used neon colors. All my books are from different publishers. Magical City and Magical Christmas I have in a Russian edition, and paper is quite thick, but in the Magical City is a little bit soft, so it absorbs water quite quickly, and you have to work with Inktense really quickly. But with time I got used to work with Inktense in all of my 5 Lizzie Cullen's books, get used to the different types of paper, how Inktense pigment spread on them, and how to control water better. I'm glad that I discovered how well Inktense matched to this book, because a lot of pictures here are really big, and with regular pencils you would spend much more time coloring them. But couple of pictures like this Sagrada Familia Cathedral I colored with my brush pens when I purchased couple of koi brush pens and Ecolines, and also Faber-Castell pit pens. But still, Inktense are my favorite choice for this book. Sometimes I combine them with my Czech Kohinoor Monteluz watercolor pencils, and together with Inktense they work really well. They help me to get pale and pastel colors. It's interesting to see the difference between my earliest works and my recent ones. I think that my earlier work they are a little bit pale. Maybe it's because Inktense pigment is not very light fast, or maybe it depends from the amount of pigment and pressure on the pencil which I did then and which I use now. Anyway, I love a lot of my earlier works, like this Malta on the right part of the spread, or in the end page about Morocco gardens. I think that the most difficult picture in this book is Tokyo, and I also have couple of projects which I started where I tested different color combos of inktense in the beginning of my hobby, but I hope to return to them later and to finish them because I want to have a finished book. But mostly I tended to use similar colors for all pages, like tan, amber, mustard for the walls, and this is probably my favorite picture in this book, and London also. So a lot of pictures look quite similar because I tended to color all houses in similar colors. So I was quite happy to discover Magical Christmas and Magical Journeys book, especially when I saw a review and I saw a wonderful map in the beginning of Magical Journey. So Magical Journey I purchased via Book Depository, and it also was one of my first books which I ordered abroad. Probably Magical City is my favorite book, and Magical Christmas is almost equal to it. But Magical Christmas I color mostly in December and sometimes for Christmas in July. And Magical Journey I color throughout the whole year. This is my favorite drawing of Lizzie and probably one of my favorite finished projects. I am not very fond of these pictures with Lizzie and the park just because I don't know how to color it to make it interesting. So I simply used acrylic colors for the background. But some pictures here are really very interesting. I tried to color this book in order because it's a journey, so I wanted to make a start with Lizzie and to continue her journey around the world. Again, I have some unfinished pictures, but I will return to them later. I love that in this book we have bigger variety of subjects, from landscapes to portraits to objects, and especially I love maps. Again, almost everything here is colored with Inktense, with addition of Kohinoor Mondeluz, and for couple of pictures I used acrylic paint. I think that for all pictures here I have tutorials on my channel, so my playlist with Lizzie Cullen's works are really huge. I'm glad that in this book I can be more creative and to use some unusual color combos for the building, for the sky, and to experiment. This Tokyo page is one of my favorites, and it's really much better than Tokyo page in Magical City. I also tried to learn about places which are mentioned in this book, and I always try to Google something interesting about cities which I color, especially in Australia, New Zealand, which I never heard about, and now I know some interesting things about them, and I try to share at least some information about them with you. Portrait of Japanese Girl was one of my least successful projects in this book. I wasn't very happy how face was colored with Inktense, and later I almost ruined it when on the back side I used a lot of water with dark color, so Inktense bleeded on her face, but I tried to mask it. With all other pictures, I am really happy and satisfied. Especially, I love to color pictures where we have oceans and seas. I think it's because I love blue and blue-green colors in Inktense set. I was very happy to discover that Neocolor crayons work really well on this paper. They lay down on it really well and they don't bleed through, so I used them for a couple of my recent projects, and I hope that they will be very helpful for me to finish huge projects with forests and also to create more interesting skies. I am really looking forward to coloring pictures from United States and to finish Australian part. If Magical Journey is my book for the whole year, Magical Christmas is my special December book to start feeling holiday mood. And I already colored it for 2 Decembers and I finished quite a lot pictures here. I love this book because here we have a very interesting mix of Christmas traditions, Christmas traditional objects like tree, like Christmas candles, like tree decorations or Christmas stockings. Then holidays in different countries and historical time holidays like Victorian Christmas or Tudor Christmas. So I think that it's a very successful book of Lizzie Mary Cullen and probably my favorite Christmas book so far. Apart from traditional coloring with Inktense pencils, I also tried in this book to use some supplies from scrapbooking. I used masking and heat embossing, and I love this experiment. Again, for almost all pictures in this book, I have tutorials on this channel. I think that I definitely will be doing a Christmas in July coloring, and I think that I will be coloring this Christmas in Australia maybe. Or maybe huge 2 pages spread with Christmas in Shakespeare's time. For this spread with candles, I used neon colors for the background and a lot of metal acrylic painting to create festive look for this picture. Probably pictures in this book are the most detailed and most time consuming between all Lizzie Mary Cullen's book. I remember that it took me a lot of time to finish pictures with Tudor Christmas or Christmas on Baker Street or this New Zealand Christmas. So you have to have enough of patience to color all the small details. And I also love that we have to find Santa on each picture. It's a pity that Lizzie Mary stopped to produce coloring books. She promised a book about China, but I guess that maybe her latest books about France, Spain, and England weren't as successful as were her first books, so maybe she decided not to do this book about China. But I would like to see this book. I think that it will be quite interesting because I love how she depicted China and Japan in her Magical City and Magical Journey books. So maybe one day we still will see this book, but as far as I know, Lizzie Mary Cullen concentrated on creating individual coloring pages which we can print, but doesn't plan to create the whole book. Books about France and about England also have less detailed pictures and probably are more suitable for beginners or for people who don't want to spend a lot of time on each picture. But in the same time, they are also a little bit more difficult to decide what is depicted on the picture and which colors to use. At least for me, these abstract pictures in Bon Voyage and Tallejo are a little bit more difficult to understand and to decide which colors to use. But still, I love this idea of adding proverbs. It was very instructive for me, both in English and in French also. This is my recent project, which I just finished, and I will publish a video about it together with this review. And for this picture, I used only Prismacolors. They lay down on this paper quite well, even if paper is smooth and I had to use blender. In the end, everything looked very interesting in my opinion. It was easier to color small details with Prismacolors, and also I was happy that I used different brand and in this way different color palette. I will continue to color with Inktense in Magical City, Magical Journey and Christmas, and I think that I will be using more of regular pencils like Prismacolors or Polychromoses in Bon Voyage and Tallejo. So far I have only 4 pictures finished in Bon Voyage and only 3 pictures finished in Tallejo. I think that Tallejo is a little bit more interesting than Bon Voyage because we have here interesting historical characters. And also Lizzie Mary indicated which places and historical buildings inspired her, and I love this because I can Google them and to learn something new. I started coloring this book from this Downton Abbey because I love series about Downton. Also I colored here portrait of Queen Elizabeth and I combined for this picture Inktense and Prismacolors. And for the last St. Valentine's I colored this heart. I hope that you enjoyed this video and don't miss my coloring in Bon Voyage with Prismacolors. And I will see you very soon. Thank you for watching.